Welcome to your Wordless podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nierras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now let's dive in. I'd like to take you and our listeners a trip down memory lane first before we start off. Can you please share with us what was it like growing up as a Terry Whalin?
I grew up in eastern Kentucky. Then my dad worked on the railroad, and so he got a job back in East in Maryland. So in junior high school, I lived in the Baltimore, Maryland area, and then I went to high school and college in Indiana, and so it was a high school English teacher that noticed something in my writing, Nick, and he encouraged me to join the high school newspaper. And so that's what I did. And I ultimately became the editor of my high school newspaper. And then I decided to go into journalism. And so I went to Indiana University, one of the top 10 journalism schools in the country. And I really thought that I was a great writer when I went in there. And my editor had me rewrite my first story about 5 times. And it was like a little bitty thing when it didn't even have my name on it when it appeared in the college newspaper. So I realized back then that I had a lot to learn as a writer. I still learning all kinds of things. So it's a good attitude that he bumped on with me there. And we were basically blowing off our classes and writing stories is what I was doing back then. There were about 100 of us on the writing staff. We produced a full-size newspaper 6 days a week. So it was kind of a big deal for college kids to be doing that. And I joined a social fraternity in college and really got away from my upbringing and all that kind of thing. And I'd been out drinking the night before, and I couldn't get my fingers on the right keys.
Writer's block.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And back then, on those old Royal typewriters, when you made a mistake, you just backed up and X'd out and went on. And I knew my editor was going to be upset with the way my copy was looking and everything. And so every time I made a mistake, I said to myself, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. And this little blonde-haired girl that was sitting next to me, she turned to me and she said, "Oh, Terry, don't say that. Because one of these days when you really need Jesus, you'll call out for him and he won't be there." And I thought, what is this? I'm a Christian. I go to church when I'm at home. I read the Bible in church when I'm at home. I knew nothing about this, Nick. And so she encouraged me to go to a little bookstore a couple blocks off the Indiana campus. They had pretty cards and posters, and maybe I'd find a book that interested me. So I wandered down there a couple of days later, and I bought this book called Jesus the Revolutionary. I thought, how in the world could Jesus be a revolutionary? And it showed me, I read that book and it showed me a different side of Jesus than I'd ever seen before. And about that time, some people invited me to a gathering in downtown Bloomington, Indiana, and they were on little scraps of carpet and little candles lit. And those people had something that I didn't have. And so I got a Bible, and I've been going the Jesus trail ever since. And my journalism colleagues thought I was a little different, because instead of becoming a newspaper reporter, which is what I thought I was going to do, I joined this group called Wycliffe Bible Translators. And I spent several years in Guatemala, Central America, working among the Southwest Cachiquel people. That's why I have a New Testament actually on my shelf that started back then that I worked on. And I returned to my writing, started writing for magazines, and ultimately I went to a writers' conference. And the editor at the writers' conference told me she had a problem. And I always listen when these editors tell me they have a problem. And she said, "Terry, we have all these children's books at David C. Cook, and we're supposed to tell kids about how they can go serve Jesus in the world. We don't have a single book that says about that. What kind of ideas do you have?" And so at the time my kids were little, I was reading these children's books to kids, and I knew that Steve Lawhead, he goes by Stephen Lawhead in the fantasy area, but for his kids' books, Steve Lawhead had these books that with real pictures combined with a cartoon character to show kids their imagination. Like Howard had a hot air balloon, Howard had a spaceship. And so I said to this editor, what if we combined the real pictures from Wycliffe with a little cartoon character to show kids different occupations? She said, oh, that's a good idea. Write that up and send that to me. So I made a little note. I wrote that up. I sent it to her. Now that I had to go back and forth a bunch before that became my first book, but that was my first book that was published in 1992, a little children's book that I did called When I Grow Up, I Can Go Anywhere for Jesus.
Wow. So would you say that your writing has been influenced by following the teachings of Jesus? I mean, how did that
Yeah.
evolve from before to now?
Well, yeah, it does, because a lot of my books are in the Christian category. So I've written biographies on people like Billy Graham and Chuck Colson and
Mm.
Luis Palau and Vanessa Flowers. Even I wrote her book called Running on Ice. First African American ever win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
She won in the 2002 bobsled in Salt Lake City. So,
Right.
you know, I've just written a lot of that kind of stuff over the years. Kids books, devotional books, co-authored things, all kinds of different books that I've written. But yeah, my change into following Jesus really did make a difference on the type of writing that I've done through the years.
I love that. Okay, I am just diving into the world of writing. So, and right now we're in the age of social media. They still write, you have content creators. So I am trying to dive into that, and I'm finding it so difficult because I have all of these ideas in my head, but I can't seem to structure them. Now, I am a person who I love to pursue knowledge. So if and internet's free with, it's abundant in resources in terms of writing, how do you structure these things, but still you got to put it on writing before you can get good at it. So you as a writer for so many decades, right? How would you approach this if you are just starting to write now, like today?
Yeah, no, if you're starting right now, one of the first things you want to do, everybody wants to write books. And I understand that books are
Oh, I love
permanent,
that. I'm a book
they
author. Yeah,
all
everybody.
that kind of thing. But but the problem with books is they're long. There's a lot of words in these books. So I encourage people instead to start with magazines, because most of these magazines have what they call guidelines. So you can look, and the editor basically tells you what he's looking for. So if you give him something, if you pitch him something that he's looking for, he's more likely to say yes, right? So, and most of these magazines take personal experience stories. And we all have strange personal experiences that happen in our lives. So
Yes.
write those down and catch the dialogue. And with a magazine article, you learn how to have a good title, how to have a good beginning, how to have a beginning, a middle, and end, how to write something that has like a single point. And it's shorter. It's like 1,000 to 1,500 words. You're working with that rather than 50,000 words like in a book. So you can learn a lot. And you can also, at the end of the magazine article, you could say, Nicolette, author of, and give your website or the podcast, give your link to your podcast. And with a magazine article, it's very easy to reach 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people with your magazine article. So you can reach more people, get experience, and work with a shorter piece of writing as opposed to trying to do a book.
So, okay, now that's one question that's in my head. Do people still read magazines right now? So, but you're talking not just physical magazines, right? Like
Yeah, it'd be on either
magazines
on
as well.
e-magazines online or physical magazines. Sure, people read
Or
magazines. I mean,
I could just start with writing newsletters.
you could start writing newsletters.
Yeah.
I got in on the early stages of blogging, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Yeah.
And they
I used to
say
blog, but
there's over
that died
they say
down.
there's over 600 million blogs out there. I mean, a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people
Just
start,
like
but
podcasts.
they don't
4
keep
million.
going.
Yes. Yeah.
But But what I did, I started in 2004. I decided to keep going. And so I'm writing a blog every week. So
Wow.
about a
To
year
this
ago,
day.
to this day, I have over 1,700 entries in my blog. And so I have this thing that searches for my name out there online. And about a year ago, I found an article about the top 27 content producers out there. And my name was one of those 27
Wow.
because of the volume of material I have out there. I mean, it's pretty
It's
incredible, you know.
yeah. Now it just goes to show you need 10,000 hours to master something, and you went above and beyond that. And now if I want to be a master at it, I have to start now, right? It's never too late to start.
Never too late. Never too late. There's
Wow.
always room. We live in a world of opportunity, and there's great opportunity out there. You just need to find the right one for you, and it's definitely out there.
I love that. So, Terry, what is your take on AI and writing? I think you get asked about. Hi, I'm Nick Nierras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if this real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Well,
Podcast.
I don't think they can write the books for me, but I think can be a good resource for you because for example, one of the things in the book world we need to know is we need to understand our competition because
Yeah.
everybody has to understand who's their audience. It's not everyone. Everybody has a specific sort of readers that they're going for with their book. So who writes in your space that it would be a competitor to you? And AI can help you analyze that competitor. So it's like, what are the components of this book? How did they put this together? You know, those are good questions to ask AI and have them analyze that and send that back to you rather than you spending hours of time reading it, trying to analyze it yourself. And the computer can do that analysis for you. I think that's a good use of AI.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah.
I love it. I do. I mean, just as for the listeners as well, I do reach out to AI for my captions when I am hit with I don't know, I don't know what to write on my show notes. So I do ask the help of AI, and I think it's helped me tremendously because you can only know so much on a certain topic, but then AI could give you a different perspective. Oh, maybe you should say it from this angle instead. So yeah, I love your take on that, Terry. So never fear AI. Make it as your companion, or I take it as my assistant now.
But don't
Yeah,
lean on it too much because
yeah.
you don't want it to write the thing for you. You
For
want to have your
yeah,
own voice and your own writing in there.
exactly, exactly. Okay, thank you so much for that, Terry. So let's go to your book, 10 Myths, 10 Publishing Myths, Insights Every Author Needs to Know to Succeed. Okay, what is in there, Terry? Tell us.
Well, I wrote this book, Nick, because I talk with authors all the times as an editor, and many of them have completely unrealistic expectations about what's going to happen with their book. Because
Hit number one New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, number one New York Times bestseller, going to make a lot of money, all those kinds of things.
I mean, I
And
have those dreams too. Okay.
I have those dreams too, but you
Okay.
have to be realistic about what's going to happen, at the end of the day. So my wake up moment in this whole situation is I had a literary agency that I was running in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Mark Victor Hansen, the co-author on Chicken Soup for the Soul, was holding this event in Los Angeles called Mega Book Marketing University. And in 2007, he invited me to come to this thing. And so I took pitches from people during the workshop, but I also sat there with all 400 of the other people and listened to the different speakers. And at that point in my life, Nick, I had written about 50 books for traditional publishers. So I'd been getting advances. They were making pretty books. They were putting them in the bookstore, all that kind of thing. But publishers, like usually once a year, maybe quarterly, will send you a financial statement about how your book is doing, how it's selling. All of mine were in the minus category. They weren't making money out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't figure out what was I doing wrong or not
Yeah.
doing in order to have that type of result. Well, about halfway through that workshop, it's almost like I'd been asleep and I woke up. One of the speakers was Jack Canfield, the other co-author on Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Jack has written this book called The Success Principles about
Mm-hmm.
what does it take to really be successful. The very first success principle says that I will take 100% responsibility for my own success. Now, none of us want to take 100% responsibility. We want somebody else to do it. We want our publisher, our publicist, somebody else, please, other than us. And I realized how little I was doing myself to promote my own book. I mean, sure, I had a terrywhalin.com website, but I was doing nothing else to promote my own book.
Right.
So I said, hey, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for my own success. So I started blogging, started doing other things like being on this podcast to be telling people about my book and take my own responsibility for that. People forget that Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen couldn't find a publisher for Chicken Soup for the Soul. They were rejected over 160 times before they finally found the publisher. That's a lot of
I
rejection,
had
you know.
I had a
But
had a chills. Had chills.
but when they finally found a little publisher in Florida to publish the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book, they told their publisher they were going to sell 1 million books in the first year. The publisher laughed at them. They never sold 1 million copies of anything at that point. They
Mm-hmm.
just thought that was ridiculous. It took them a year and a half, but they practiced what they called the rule of 5. They got up every day and they did 5 things to tell people about their book. They did a radio show, a newspaper article, a guest blog post,
Wow.
podcast, something to be telling people. And so that's the kind of activity that all of us as authors have to do. Sure, we have to write, but we also have to be proactive in telling people about us and what we do in our book in the process.
I love it. That is so applicable to daily life, right? I wanna talk to people. I know I like talking, but then to be good at it, at least at some level, you gotta be talking, put in hours, and just even your first podcast is gonna suck. And I know I'm not. Who do I look up to? Okay, let's just say Tony Robbins, right? I look up to him when he speaks, but then you put in the work. Same thing as writing. So for the listeners listening, there's no shortcut to success. And this is what Terry is trying to share with us from the perspective of a writer. And I love that, Terry. So okay, I
In my
want
book,
to.
I
Yes.
really tried to be practical because
Mm,
so much in the publishing process is outside of our control. So, authors will tell me, for example, that their audience is over on Facebook or their audience is on YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram. Well, that's fine, but I don't control Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. So those are what we call in the business, we call those rented platforms because I don't control them. So I always encourage authors to think about that and to build on something that they can control at the end of the day. So we can control our own website, our own blog, our own newsletter. Those are things that we can do something about. And so you could take action on those things and you don't have to ask permission to anybody else or anything. You just go for it and do it.
yeah, because on the social media platform, they do have certain degree of you have some autonomy of what you write, but then the algorithm kicks in, and then let's see if other people are resonating. It'll get shared more often, but if not, you're gonna your post is not gonna be seen that much, right? Because
That's
just
right.
yeah, today I was just looking at my post impressions on LinkedIn. It was 1,000 plus last week, but then today it's 800. I'm like, oh, no, no, I'm missing some of my, yeah, I need those things. But then there's also one thing that's important as a creative, right? All writers, create artists, creatives, or I mean, we're inherently creative people. We must not get bogged down by the metrics as well, and stay true to our core. And why do we start? Why do we write in the first place? So,
Well, yeah, and you're right. You're right. That, and I always go back to the fact, for me, I go back to the fact that books change people's lives. And I know that personally because here I read this book years ago called Jesus the Revolutionary that changed the direction of my life. So that's why I do what I do every day, is because books change people's lives. And I really want people to get this book, 10 Publishing Myths. That's why I set up this website. If people go to publishingoffer.com, they can get the book for only $10, along with over $200 worth of bonuses, including the shipping. So I really try to make it easy for people to get this because I want them to read it and then succeed with their writing.
Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. And after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo-yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenierrasholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
oh my gosh, I love the work that you're doing, Terry. I love the mission behind it, the purpose behind it. Yes, very important, super important for my show. Okay, Terry, how did you come up with the various myths? Let's talk about the first myth. My book will make a lot of money.
Well, that's the one I hear most often, most frequently.
How much?
And then
How much do we get anyway? Like for royalties and not much.
it varies.
It varies.
It
Okay.
depends on how you publish. It depends
Right.
on what kind of thing you negotiate, and then what you do, how active you are in visible and promoting your book. And there's a lot of factors, and some of it's in your control and some of it's outside of your control. So the thing that you get out of writing a book that a lot of people don't realize is you get the authority that you're an expert in your book and you're
That's true.
by publishing a book. It also opens up other doors for you to be able to speak places, to talk in front of groups, sell your books to those groups. There's a lot of things that can happen for you just because you're an authority on your particular topic and you're writing about that. But on the make a money part, what I find that's a challenge for authors is they will get often sucked into some sales message from somebody that really wants to publish their book. But then when you check that publisher online, I always encourage people to write the name of the publisher along with the word complaints or scam into Google.
Review it first.
Just see what comes up. Now, not all of us have people that don't like us. So
Yeah.
every publisher has complaints out there.
Yeah.
But if you find pages and pages of people complaining about somebody, that should be a red flag to you that you shouldn't go with these people, even though, sure, they have a slick sales pitch and all that kind of thing. So just be cautious. There are some, I've met authors that have spent $20,000 with a company, to publish their book, self-publish their
Wow.
book. It's only online. They're really producing
Wow.
it in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
They'll never make that money back. I mean, it's a shame. I feel bad for those people.
20,000 to, okay, so typically a reasonable cost, how much is it for one that need for one to pay if they
It
want
just
to
all it
publish?
just all it all depends on how you go. So like
Okay.
if you self-publish, you do it all yourself, and then it it's very common. I've met people that have spent $10,000 to self-publish their book, because by the time you design a cover and the interior and do all that stuff, that can add up.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional publishing, you may not have to pay anything. Maybe they'll actually pay you to write the book, but it's harder and harder to get a traditional deal. And then there's independent publishing in the middle, which is the kind of thing that we do at Morgan James, where we do a lot of the work with you. You still control your rights. We sell our books into 98% of the bookstores in North America, including the brick and mortar stores. We've been around
Wow.
over 20 years. We've printed over 20 million books.
Mm-hmm.
29 times on the New York Times list, 200 times on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. You can't do that kind of thing if you're not selling books in the brick and mortar bookstores. That's another option, is for people to consider. It's not right for everybody, but we publish about 200 books a year. We receive about 5,000 submissions for those 200 spots. So there is a lot of competition even there. We're looking for the right people, the right author, the right books. Yeah.
Wow. So you also pick and choose the people that you want to publish. You don't just publish just like that. Yeah, because you have
No.
reputation
Yes, we do.
to manage or to attain, right? Yeah. So okay, thank you for that advice, Terry. I'll be sure to keep that in mind. Because I've been talking to some people on my show as well. They're also writers, and some of them do go and publish. They're writers and they publish their books to independent publishing companies. So some, they have varying degrees of pricing to them. And the first time I heard it, yeah, like that kind of pricing, like 10,000. Really? So are you saying that everybody that publish their book out there, they spend that much of money? Well, not
Well,
really.
it
Yeah,
it
it
varies.
varies. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
varies.
but if they don't spend anything, or if they spend very little, then often their book will look poor, and it won't have a very nice cover to it. The interior
True.
will be terrible,
True.
and people make decisions on the basis of
Yeah.
how it looks and how the interior looks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got to be careful.
Gotta be careful. Okay, so Terry, is there a formula for a book to become a bestseller?
There's not really a formula, but there are practices that people do, and one of them is that whole activity thing that I was talking about. I mean, the factor that many people don't that sells books mostly is word of mouth. So how does word of mouth happen? That's still a mystery. There really is no formula for a bestseller, but a lot of it has to do with the person, their activity, what their writing ability,
How visible they are in the community.
their promotion. All those kinds of things have to do with how the book really succeeds at the end of the day. There's a lot to it. It's a complicated business. Not simple. It looks simple, but it's not.
Yeah. So how early should one be in contact with a publishing company before, if they do want to start out? So I have this grand idea of writing a book, this many chapters. So and I want to launch it perhaps in the next, I don't know, X months. So how early should I be contacting? Let's say I would like to work with you, Terry. How early should we be in contact? Like a year, 6 months?
It kind of depends on the book. So
Okay. How so?
if your book is a children's book, you've probably
Okay.
written the whole thing. If it's a nonfiction book, Often with nonfiction, we take these things we call book proposals. So
Book
that's
proposal.
really your business plan about how you're going to, who's your audience, what's
I
your
have to come
outline.
up with that.
Yeah, it's called a book proposal.
Book proposal. Okay.
And
So
so
here you go. Okay.
yes, so you have to do that. Now, I've written 2 book proposals that actually got 6-figure advances from the publishers.
No.
So yeah,
Wow.
it is possible. Now,
Wow.
I have long stories about what happened to those books, why they didn't succeed, but the proposal is a lot of work. And so I wrote this book years ago as my very first this is my 3rd company as an acquisitions editor, Nick. So the very first time I was an acquisitions editor, I was frustrated because I wasn't getting the type of submissions that I wanted. So I wrote this book called Book Proposals That Sell: 21 Secrets to Speed Your Success. And the book has been out there. It's got over 150 5-star reviews. It's helped a lot of people over the years. Publishing has changed a lot since I wrote that book. So a couple years ago, I wrote a revised edition and totally updated the book. And people can get that book for free from me, the ebook, if they go to bookproposals.ws, bookproposals.website. It pulls up a page, has the book cover, has a little type about the book, and has this button that says free book. So they can get that for free from me. Now, why would I give away the ebook version of my book? I give it away because we've learned at Morgan James that if somebody gets that ebook and starts to read that, there's a high probability that they're going to turn and buy the print copy of the book. So
it's an
give
exact print of the hard copy.
Yes. So giving away that ebook version drives print book sales. So, and that's your business plan, that book proposal. So that's a very important thing to do, whether you self-publish or whether you go with a traditional publisher. If you've written a fiction book, that's different, because with a novel, you have to write the whole thing, because publishers have contracted books in the past with people that wrote it like a dynamic beginning. But there's a couple of kinds of fiction authors. There's what they call plotters that have it all planned out, how their books are going to go. But there's other people they call them pantsers. They write by the seat of their pants. They don't really know how their book's going to end. They just have these characters and they put them on a stage in their mind and they're writing, right? So they could write themselves into a corner where they don't really know how to finish their book, which is a real bad deal if you're a publisher and you've contracted your book with somebody.
That's right.
So most publishers want to see the whole thing before, if you have a novel. So you have to do the whole thing with that. So it's different. Yeah.
The second group of people are the ones that letting the creative juices flow, but then, hello, we need your book. Or what is your plan? I often see that on TV.
Could be a bad deal for those people.
Yeah. Okay. So what role does consistency play for writers to sell books?
Very, very important. Because if you're not doing something consistent, then the audience doesn't get really tuned into that. They don't even know that you're doing it on a regular basis. So like even your newsletter, I've been guilty of this. I've been random in my newsletters. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do several a month. Some months I don't do any. I send them here. I send them there.
Yeah.
And so what I decided a few weeks ago, I decided I was going to send my newsletter out every Wednesday. And I'm going to point people to 10 publishing myths. Now, they've been on different topics, my newsletters, but they come out every single week, every Wednesday, once a week. So that consistency is a very important part of the process. Just kind of trains people that, hey, my newsletters
this is
come
my
every week.
Brand. Yeah. This is the book that I need you to read. Yeah. Because people will forget. We're bombarded with so much information daily, trying to get our attention. And if you don't make sure that it gets right maybe to the phone, right? Because the moment we wake up, we're scrolling. And then, yeah. And I receive about 10, 20 newsletters from God knows where that yeah. And even thank God Gmail is saying, okay, you should unsubscribe because you haven't opened any emails from this person since the last 6 months. Yeah. You say, but we don't want that too, right? So there's so many moving parts that we need to tackle. But yeah, okay, it will get to the right audience eventually.
And do the things that you can do. Don't try to do it all. Don't try to be on every social media platform, and pick and choose
Pick and
which things
choose.
you're going to do. And then
Yeah.
people always wonder how in the world I've written more than 60 books, Nick, and it's
Yeah,
not
I
hard.
wonder too.
I write one book at a time, one page, one paragraph at a time. And if you write, like we were talking about magazine articles earlier, so if you write 15 or 20 magazine articles on a similar kind of topic, those magazine articles could become chapters of a book. It's all about how you put it together
Yeah.
and get it out there.
Woo! Thank you for that, Terry. I love that. So, what are you working on currently?
Currently, I am I'm still blogging, but my current thing is I'm working with other authors on their books, trying to get them published with Morgan James. Is one of the things that I do on a regular basis, and I'm still doing my social media, my newsletter, and my podcasts, and all these kinds of things mixed in too. So it's not just one thing that I'm on, but I'm on a number of different things, sort of day in and day out.
Yeah, that should keep you occupied, and yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. So, Terry, what is next for you? Any plans for a new book, perhaps?
I just finished a book in December, actually, that's
That's
coming out.
fairly new.
It's coming out this month, I think. I
Also,
wrote it
it's
for
different
I wrote it for somebody else. It's a different book that I wrote.
ghostwriting, right? Is that called ghostwriting?
No, well, but
No,
I'm my name is on the book, so I'm a co-author
co-author. Okay,
on the book.
okay.
But yeah, I don't really know exactly when it's coming out. I haven't seen the title. I finished my work on it, so it's kind of up to the other folks to get it done.
Exciting, exciting.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
okay.
And I did want to tell people that
Yes.
when I put 10 publishing myths together, Alice Kreider, who was an acquisitions editor, when she sent back her endorsement to me, she said, "Terry, you're missing the 11th myth." I'm
What
like,
is that?
"What's the 11th myth?" She said, "Well, the 11th myth should be that if I send my book to Oprah, she'll book me on her show." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's a pretty good myth." And so what I
You
just
just shattered my dream, Terry.
so what I decided to do is I decided to write that chapter.
Okay.
And I give that away to people. If you go to terrylinks.com/11 myth, terrylinks.com/11 myth, it takes you to a page where you just put in your name and your email address, and then you get that chapter from me for free. So that's just a giveaway that I do out there to help people out there
Ouch.
with it.
So it's not real. Even if we send to Oprah, she won't invite us to her show and discuss about her book.
Well, I mean, Oprah Winfrey has a big warehouse in Chicago where she stores all this stuff that people send her. She sorts through it, and then once or twice a year she gives all that away. Sure, your stuff can go into that if that's what you want. It's
Mm,
pretty much of a long shot that you're going to get on the
yeah,
Oprah
yeah.
Winfrey Book Club or something like that. There's a lot more sure things that you can do than send a book to Oprah.
Bill Gates has his own book club too, right? Can we send him? Okay. I mean, that's just me thinking out loud.
He's got a new book that just came out, I saw, yes.
Oh, is that right? What's
He
the
does.
title of the book?
I think I saw it. I think it's called Source Code that came out this week, I think. Yeah, about his
Okay.
childhood. Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, maybe a sign for me to, check it out. Let's see, what is that? So, okay, Terry, we're going to pivot to a self-worth question. And my podcast talks a lot about that. And you've also shared your journey about how, Jesus. And it's often, I think, when people come into, they have encounters with events such as this, it'll prompt them to look within, right? And check what's missing, what's wrong, what's working, what's not working. So and the question for you is that self-discovery varies for each person. It's different for you and it's different for me. So what are some practical steps people can take to embark on this path to learn about themselves? Now, you've written books, you've had your own journey, but for other people, what can you tell? What can you give out away as advice?
Well, I think there's a number of ways that people can profit themselves and keep growing as people. It can be from a book that you hear about. It can be from a conversation that you have with somebody. Change is hard, Nick, for all of
Oh,
us to change.
yeah.
But we can change, and we can keep growing as individuals. And I believe that we live in one of the greatest opportunity times in human history out there. I mean, I've heard Marcus Duhay just step back from being the chief executive officer at Penguin Random House, the biggest publisher in the world, say that we live in one of the greatest times in human history since Gutenberg invented the printing press. And I believe that's true. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but it doesn't just come to you. You have to be knocking on the doors and seeing which ones open up for you and your life and where you want to take it.
Whew, brilliant. Just the inspiration I need for today. So, Terry, what is your heart's greatest wish?
My heart's greatest wish is that someone will get one of my books and that will really help them in an unexpected way to grow as a person or to see some new idea. That's what we want to have happen with our books out there. We want them to change people's lives. And like I said earlier, I know that personally because a book changed my life years ago.
Yeah. So don't worry if you're a creative, if you're a writer, if you're an artist producing music, the metric can get you bogged down, demotivated because it's not giving, you don't get your million streams and then your book is not sold that much that you've hoped for. But still, if one person is impacted by your work, that means you're doing something.
That's right. And through the years, Nick, I've been in some of the top editorial offices and literary agencies in the country. And the thing that I find interesting when I go in those places is they're all asking me, Terry, where's the next bestseller? Where's the next best-selling novel? Where's the next best-selling nonfiction book? So when you submit something to them, they may be ghosting you, not responding, or they may be saying thanks, but no thanks. But you should really know that they're reading those pitches and they're really looking for the next diamond in the rough, the next bestseller. So, be encouraged that they are looking whether they respond to you or not at the end of the day.
I mean, just look at J.K. Rowling.
People don't know that story about J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that story?
Mm,
She was a single mom in
just living
Scotland.
on food stamps. Yeah.
She went to the library to look for a literary agent, and she looked and saw the name Christopher Little. She said, "Oh, that sounds like a children's agent. I'll send my book to them." Well, Chris Little didn't do children's books. He actually did thrillers. Was his thing, was selling thrillers. And he actually told his assistant, just reject all the children's books because there's no money in children's books. Well, J.K. Rowling sent this big black book to Chris Little, and the assistant was intrigued with the binder and the way this thing came in. So she took it and read it, and she said, "Hey, Chris, I think you could sell this book." And so he did. He
Wow.
sold that book to a London publisher for like a small advance, like $1,000. That publisher in London sold the book to Scholastic for a much bigger advance, and the rest is history.
It's
We're all
history.
reading Harry Potter books.
Watching, yeah. That's my childhood is defined by J.K. Rowling. So yeah. Ooh. Okay. It's not the end, Nick. You can do this. You can.
You can do it.
Yeah. So Terry, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening, and the world is your legacy, what would it be?
I would say the world is full of opportunity. Knock on the door.
Yeah. Go to it.
You can.
How can people reach out to you?
You know, I'm on LinkedIn. Search for my name. I'm on X, Twitter. I actually have my personal email address right in my Twitter profile there, because I want people to be able to reach out to me. People say that I'm one of the most accessible people in the publishing community. I answer my email, I answer my phone, and it's because I want to help people. I want people to be connected and to be involved and get their book out there into the world. It's hard. It's hard for all of us to find that right connection. And if I can help somebody, I'm more than eager to do that for them. I lost you. Your sound is out. Is my sound out? There you go. There you go. I don't know what happened to you.
Yeah, it's me. It's me, because it says that suddenly my camera and microphone's not working, and it's asking me to restart. So yes, you were saying about the last part on the, where can people reach out to you? You're the most accessible writer in the space, and then they can even reach you through X, LinkedIn, and then your email address is on LinkedIn and is on X as well.
It is.
So yeah.
It is.
Okay. Brilliant. All right. So that's it for today, folks. That's a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Terry Whalin. Thank you for your wisdom and dedication to uplifting others, Terry. And for our listeners, this has been Your Wordless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Remember, if you've ever felt wordless, you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here, to matter. And for that reason, alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to Terry Whalin and to all of you for listening.
Thank you, Nick.
Until next time, I'm Nick Nierras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Terry, for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Terry. Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm good, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today. And welcome to my show. I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled Your Wordless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, today, for our listeners, we're going to be talking about getting behind the editorial desk and also becoming a publisher and a writer. So that's two sides of the coin. So if you'd allow me, I'd like to introduce our guest today. We have Terry Whalin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
That's right. That's right.
And yes, we have Terry Whalin here with us. He understands both sides of the editorial desk. As an editor and a writer, he worked as a magazine editor, and his magazine work has appeared in more than 50 publications. Now, Terry's newest book is 10 Publishing Myths, Insights Every Author Needs to Succeed. Wow. I think I need you on the show because I want to let you in on a little secret. I am also trying to write my own book, trying to accumulate
Fantastic.
those insights from the guests that I got on my show. So yes, this is a very much needed conversation for me at least. So welcome, Terry, to the show.
Thank you, Nick. Great to be here with you.
Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to @holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.denignieras, wholisticlifestyle.com. For more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul path